welcome back to another episode of the Broken Meeple board game reviews, and after a couple of months delay since Co-op month, I am finally able to give you a decent review on the White Moon expansion for Ghost Stories. Now, you can see my review back in February of Ghost Stories, the original game. It's one of my better co-op games. It is one of the hardest co-op games ever to play. This thing likes to smack you around the second it opens the box lid. And White Moon effectively takes the core concept of Ghost Stories and gives it a few extra bits and pieces for you to worry about more than anything else. I mean, you do get one or two things to help you along the way, but it's adding more of a challenge as well. It certainly hasn't made the game any easier. If anything, it may have made the game a little bit harder. But we'll see about that later. For now, let's make a start. Okay, so the main emphasis of the White Moon expansion are the new villagers, and there are all sorts of villagers in the village, because funny enough, you were defending the village in the original story, but you never actually saw any of the inhabitants. So you're thinking, well, hang on, where's everyone gone? They just mysteriously disappeared or hiding in their houses? Well, now you actually have the villagers themselves to worry about. And the cool thing with this is that they have their own board here, which hopefully, see if I can get that for you, that are separated by family. Now, some of them have just got one person in them. Oop, let's bring that down a bit. There we go. Some of them have just got one member of the family. Some have two, some have three. Now, what these villages are is that they will be placed on the board at the start of the game, 3 in each tile, and you have a giant portal which is sat normally in the middle of the game board, this little jobby here, and you have to get the villagers out through the portal whilst doing the already difficult job of exorcising ghosts. Now, with the villagers, the reason you want to do this is because if you save an entire family worth of the same villager, so let's say I want to save the Sheng family here. There's 2 members of it and I save both members of the Sheng family. Then you will get a positive bonus. Now, what are these bonuses? Well, they're sometimes one-off abilities like getting extra tokens or healing life or raising barriers, that kind of thing. But what they may also be used for, I'll get them out of the bag, is to acquire special artifacts. And these sort of artifacts here, we've got like a sort of giant firework thing here, we've got like razor blades, like Wolverine style, magic dust, various other things like that. Here we go, mighty sword, a strange sort of, oh yeah, chest armor, always good, special potion, scroll, magic scroll, that's always nice, and I call this the pig shield. I'm not entirely certain if that's what it's meant to be, but pig shield it is. Now, the idea is obviously these things will give you abilities to help fight the ghosts. However, there's a flip side to this. If any member dies, and that's not just the whole family, if any villager dies, then a negative ability goes off, which is also printed on the tile, and that's going to hinder you. So all of a sudden, you are trying to save the villagers just to mainly not get screwed over. As if the game wasn't hard enough, now you have to worry about these people. However, how does a villager die? Well, let's get those out of the way. You have new ghosts coming into the play. Now, I'm not going to show you every single ghost that comes in. I'm just going to put down some sample ghosts here. This, one of each colour. New ghosts come into play with this symbol here, and that is the devouring ability. These work in a similar manner to the haunters that come on to play in the base game, except instead of haunting a tile, what these guys do is they devour a villager that happens to be on the next tile. And once the villager is devoured, you get that negative effect. So all of a sudden, these ghosts become a right pain in the neck. So you have to take these out fast. Of course, you get special abilities when you get good things when they sometimes come out into play or when you kill them. So it's not all bad. You'll notice actually that you don't quite recognise that, oop, where's it going there? There's a little crystal symbol there for when these die. Well, what are the crystals? The crystals, bear with me, I'll get back to the ghosts later, are these little things here. Nice little, very nicely etched crystals. I mean, you've got to admit, these are pretty good, you know, they're not like actual gemstones, but they're just cool little plasticky pieces and they look like crystals. You can spend these in a similar fashion to the tokens that you do in the game, but they also have another use. Around the edge of the board, you're going to have these things, little pedestals. Again, these are very nice. I mean, I think actually, I'm going to bring this up to the camera. Have a look at... that's better. Right, you can see that they've got a nice etched pattern on them, see? Nice pattern all the way across the pedestal. Very nice looking, these things. But these will be placed in a square around the board. There's places for them, and you can, during the game, you are able to place crystals on each pedestal. They do sit on top. A little bit of a balancing act, but they sit on top. And when this happens, you get a mystic barrier that effectively shields the entire village for a short period of time. It's really cool. It's a really nice thematic magical element that's in this game, and believe me, if you can get this barrier up, you want to, because it's that useful. On top of that, you've now got Su Ling, represented either by a nice little portrait there, or even better, this really cool little miniature. Su Ling is a kind of goddess, you know. Think Mother Nature or whatever her name was from Captain Planet series, you know, that type of, the woman who sits there in the background and doesn't do very much until things really go pot. Now, what Su Ling does is whenever something really bad happens to you, Su Ling can be placed on the board, and she does various things like stop the devouring ghosts that I mentioned before from killing villagers, stopping haunting ghosts in their track, that kind of thing, blocking a ghost from coming down. You know, she's a very cool little character, nice little addition, and obviously it's there to mitigate some of the really bad nastiness that you can get in this game. But that's a rather minor aspect of it. The main aspect is those villagers. Now, the villagers themselves, going back to these, you know, very good artwork on the tiles. Bring one up here, see if we can get that. There we go, zoo there. So they very thematic, very easy to tell. Even says whether they're the son or the mother on them, which is quite a nice little touch. There we go. There we go. See, so you got the father of the Shen family, you got the mother of the Wu family. They're really cool, nice little abilities. Although, like I say, they have varying differences as to what good and bad stuff happens. So you might choose a particular family to go after more than the others, but they're randomly placed in piles of 3 like this on each tile at the start of the game, so you can't necessarily tell which villagers are there in a particular building. But it's really cool because it actually now means that the villagers are there. That is the whole point. You're saving the villagers from these ghosts, so it's nice that they actually now feature in the game. But boy, do they add a nice little challenge, because they also add a new lose game condition. Left and right. It's hard to do this with a reverse camera thing looking at you. They have a graveyard here. When the villager dies, they're placed on this graveyard. And this carries on if they keep dying. And believe me, it's not uncommon to have a few villagers die during the course of the game. Trust me, it's difficult to keep all of them alive. As soon as one gets placed on there though, game over. That's it. Lose 12 villagers, you instantly lose the game. As if it wasn't difficult enough to win this as it was. The board itself though, really cool. Look at that. Still that same quality artwork as from the original Ghost Stories though. No problem there. What next? Yes, the new village tile. Comes with just one village tile. Would have been nice if they brought in a few more so you could have even more variety. But this is the Kung Fu School, which allows you to perform a solitary exorcism on either every ghost of your colour or all black ghosts. You roll the die and spend the dice and tokens however you see fit. Very useful, but now you have the 9 original tiles and the 10th one. So now you can basically mix and match, and sometimes a tile won't be in the game at all. I would have liked it if they brought in more of these. It just seems a bit, I don't know. When you bring in all this other cool stuff like the villagers and the ghosts and all these shiny little crystals and stuff like that, just to include only one of these village tiles just seems a bit like a cop-out. It's no big deal though, it's more of a minor nitpick. I'm just being fussy on that. It's still a cool tile, and it is nice that there is some variety. I suppose because the original tiles are actually so important, you don't want to have the chance of not having them in the particular game all the time. Going back to the ghosts, again, the new ghosts are essentially mostly to do with the devouring mechanic. There are some extra black ghosts, But mainly you've got these, and if I can bring some of them up to the camera, you can see again some really cool some really cool artwork on these things. Again, here we go, the Razorback. Oop, bit of light reflection there. There we go. So Razorback. The Silver Fang, so there's a sort of like werewolf type one there. Devour, lots of teeth. And then Vermin Lord, so you've got the rats as well. And that tends to be the theme with these. Yellow tends to be the vermin, red tends to be your typical dog werewolf type thing, blue tends to be sort of naga, serpent type creatures, and Razorback tends to go for the sort of like gorilla, warthog slash gorilla type creature. It's hard to essentially tell. However, what about the main man of the hour, Wu Feng? Oh yes, you get more of him, don't worry. I haven't forgotten him. We get 5 new incarnations of him, 1 for each colour and 1 for black. Each of these is just as obscenely nasty as the last. But again, get back to here, we've got some great ones. There we go, Root Master for the green. We've got the Howling Undine. I'm not entirely certain what an Undine is. I mean, it more looks like a sort of screaming banshee type thing. Maybe somebody want to correct me as to what that actually is. A Gatekeeper. So there's your gate for the portal. Nice cool silhouette type thing. I believe that ability means that you can't use the portal, which is a bit of a pain. The Timekeeper. Mysterious artwork there. Looks more like the actual Wu Feng himself. And of course, Voracious. Look at that. He's turned into his own sort of Yeti type werewolf beast, and he's out to get you. Now, these particular things, you know, so you've got 5 extra Wu Feng incarnations, you've got various new ghosts, you've got the really cool pedestal and crystal mechanics in this game. You also have the really nice sturdy token artifacts that come with this. You also have Wu Feng. Whoop, there she goes, and collapses. You've got the new room tile, plenty of there. And you've got the villagers and the villagers to go with them. So there's quite a lot of really cool components that you get in this game. But forgetting about the components themselves, how does this now change the dynamic of the game? Ghost Stories was already a hard game to begin with, and now with this White Moon, I feel it's made it even, I would say, probably even harder, to be honest. I mean, you've got to now watch all those villagers as well as exercising all the ghosts. You do, however, get to mitigate this with those cool artifacts, the bonuses the villagers get you if you save the families, and of course the crystals and Su Ling when she comes around. So there are some good stuff, but again, you're sort of thinking, yes, I've got this cool sword or this pig shield, and I'm going to go and take them out now. But then you get so much bad stuff as well with dead villagers, the devouring ghosts, and the other sort of nasty effects that can spring up on you. And it's kind of like, why did we get all this cool stuff when they're just going to smack us around with all this even worse stuff? So it does a cool way of balancing and mitigating it out, but the difficulty is not the main thing that changes with this. The whole way the game plays is very different now. Ghost Stories was already good when you just had the guys going around the tiles and exercising the ghosts. Now that was great. I mean, it's still a really cool co-op game, but some people were getting a little bit, you know, yes, there's a variety in the tiles and the ghosts, but it's just ghost kill, ghost kill, ghost kill, use tile, ghost kill, get Wu Feng. So there was only so much you had to necessarily think about. I mean, this was good. It made it more simple to play, but some people were getting a little bit bored with it over repetitive plays. Not the case with this though. White Moon now gives you all that extra stuff to look forward to. So you've got those villagers in particular really change the dynamic of this game, because trying to save those villagers and deal with the ghosts is harder than it sounds. And it's really cool that there is actually now a village full of villagers now. So the theme is improved in that respect. You weren't just saving this so-called empty village. Now it's populated with all these people that you have to get out, and all the families appear different. They just look really cool and add to the theme of this game. I mean, when it comes to the theme and the component quality and artwork, this game has always been top notch. It's now just got even better. I certainly don't have a problem with White Moon in respect of that. Do I think the expansion is essential though? No. I mean, I did a top 10 essential expansions list recently, and this would probably go in my top 15. Or actually, did I put it? No, I think I did. I think I might have put this at number 10 in my essential expansions list. And I would say that it's really good, and if you love ghost stories, you're getting this. It's just a fact. If you love ghost stories, get this expansion. You won't regret it. If you are okay with ghost stories, or if you've just bought the game, I don't think it's a must-buy to begin with, because having all those extra villagers and the different rules and that, there is more to learn. So it can be a little bit more fiddly. So you may want to, I certainly say you must, play the original game first for a little while, get used to it, then buy the expansion if you really like the game. Because the new rules can be a bit overwhelming for new players. I mean, I would probably suggest not teaching this to new gamers. New casual players. Gamers that are new to the game, you could probably get away with teaching this expansion, but to a person who's only just come into games, or this is like their first co-op or something, I mean, to be honest, there are much better co-ops to try if it's their first co-op, but if they're new, I would probably recommend just using the base ghost stories to begin with, and then worrying about White Moon later, because White Moon is not a beginner's expansion. This is what you use when you have played the ghost stories and either think that you need to add more variety, or that you think the game is too easy. However, if you're one of these people who believes that ghost stories is too easy, then, well, there's no other way of saying it. I think you're lying. There is no way that this game is easy. Everybody knows that this game is hard, and White Moon is now giving you even more to think about. It's debatable as to whether it makes it harder or easier. Personally, I think it makes it a tiny bit harder, but I don't think the difficulty changes much. It's more just how it feels, and having to save those villagers feels very different to just simply exercising the ghost, particularly when you've got 4 players, because now you can get 1 or 2 players focusing on ghosts and 1 or 2 players focusing on villagers, that kind of thing, and it just really adds to that teamwork aspect. Other than that though, White Moon doesn't provide much more on top of those villagers and tiles, so it's not like a complete revamp of the game. You haven't got multiple new variants or anything. It's giving you a little bit more of the same, but with some extra cool mechanics and just really cool components. I mean, I can't get enough of these crystals and souvenir and this giant portal that now sits in the middle of the table. They're just all really cool additions to the game. So, what can I say from the final verdict? It's a cool expansion, it's worth getting, but only if you're used to the base game. It's not essential, at least not the most essential purchase in the world, but I certainly think that if you like ghost stories, you are getting this expansion. There's no way you could like ghost stories and not get it. You will get this expansion if you like ghost stories. But I'm starting to ramble now. That's my verdict. It's a great expansion, but only for experienced gamers.